Hey, and the song Amazing Grace, I'm not walking. Thank you.
Can I please get everyone to stand while the family enters? You may be seated. Scattering at sea. You can shed tears that she is gone, or you can smile because she has lived. You can close your eyes and pray that she'll come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that she has left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see her, or you can be full of the love you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember her and only that she's gone, or you can cherish her memory and let it live on. Welcome, friends, family, and associates of Caroline Weber. My name is Kimberly Norman, and I'm honored to be guiding you for our time together, remembering Caroline, her incredibly full life. I kindly remind you to silence your phones. If you require the restroom, it's at the front of the hall, and please be sure to sign the guest book. If you're following online, there is an online guest book and a program posted as well. Before we begin, in addition to a memorial table with Caroline's ashes, there are other items throughout the room that are symbolic of her life. Caroline's daughters, Lorinda and Veronica, will now come to the front to share the stories behind these.
Thank you, Kim. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Lorinda. I'm the oldest daughter. I'll start with introducing a few items and then I will pass over to my sister. Caroline, my mom, became very interested in music. And part of the journey started as a child with her father, who was my grandfather, Grandpa John Weber. And from a very young age, he came from a German background. The family was always singing accordion. He also made violins. And it was very important to my mother to have something from him that reminded her of him. And he also made jewelry boxes. And every box to each granddaughter. There were 5 granddaughters. And mom always wanted a jewelry box. She said, just because I'm a daughter, why don't I get a jewelry box? So she never did get a jewelry box, but she did get a violin. This violin is very special. It's very old. It's made by him. He actually made violins. So enjoy that. After djembe, she got really into percussion. This was a huge part of her healing journey. And I rang the tingsha bells, Tibetan bowls, later this gong. I move over here, in addition to the musical instruments, part of her healing journey was also spirituality. Notice here, this is actually a finger labyrinth, meant to be very meditative. So you follow the groove with your finger. Special, and this is something I gave to mom. And a few other items here as well, and I will pass it over to Sister Ron. If you don't know who I am, don't. Few items that reminded us very much of our mother or that were the Birkenstock sandals. She always had about 5 or 6 pairs on the go. We were continually shopping for Birkenstock. She had casual ones, indoor ones, dressy ones. So these are, we brought her today, so they're on the table. This is Mom's little suitcase. And if you know my mom, she didn't hang on to much. Every time she moved, she purged, she got new stuff. So that's Caroline's little suitcase. Many relatives and friends will remember she was a big fan of Earl Grey tea. So we have her teacup with her Earl Grey tea. Loved playing cards. We've got a folding crib board that went around the world with her so that she could continue to play her cards. There was a time where she was a huge Winnie the Pooh buff and her house was decorated in it and she had blankets and pictures and clocks and dishes and everything. Mostly that was when she lived in Didsbury, and then when she came up to Fox Creek with grandkids, the Pooh Bear just kind of fit. So she kept a lot of it through the years and then it slowly dwindled down. So we have a couple of her cups there. And again, if you hung around my mom at all, you know she was famous for her Archie comics. She had them everywhere we went, everywhere we traveled, she took them along with her, and I suspect these are probably the very last ones she ever read. She had them right till the bitter end. On the far side of the room, in keeping with every time she moved, she purged, every time she moved, she also bought new furniture. She was a big proponent of new things. That little table and chairs, I think, is the only furniture that survived her many, 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 many moves. So we think it's pretty special. I think she was hanging on to it, hopefully for some granddaughters. My boys did not sit and have tea at it, but maybe someday their kids will. And then along the side, we have a collection. There is mementos that relate to her educational career and her teaching profession. And then in the middle, there's a little travel section with all her various passports and a couple other things to look at. And on the end is kind of the breast cancer era. I suppose it was a lifetime, but all of the different paraphernalia to go with that. Over on the far wall are the maps, and we talk about them a little bit later in the service. Not all of the trips she went on, but the two significant trips that she went on and associated pictures. So that's kind of the story behind this stuff.
Thank you. I love those stories. I knew Caroline as Veronica's mom, as an educator, as a courageous and a brave survivor, as a prominent woman in our community, and as a friend that I shared a mutual love of children with. Caroline, with a group of our peers, helped sponsor the education of a little girl in Tanzania, Africa. Caroline loved getting pictures and hearing stories about our spunky and colorful sponsor child, Precious. Precious was a straight-A student, and Karen loved seeing her report cards, and I'm sure she really went through them as well. Caroline was born on January 5th, 1947, passed away on April 26, 2020, at the age of 73. Caroline is remembered by her daughters, Lorinda Brinton and her partner Kenny DeComer, Veronica DeCiccio and her husband Todd, and their children Owen and Carter. Caroline is survived by her brother Bob Weber, wife Lil, and their family, and was predeceased by her parents John and Emma Weber and her sister Annie Wild and her husband Clarence. Caroline led an astonishing, adventurous, and an active life. She never sat idle. She never let an opportunity to experience something new pass her by, and she lived life to its absolute fullest. As per Caroline's request, several passages from the Bible have been selected with the help of her dear friends Bruce and June McIntyre and will be read throughout the service. So first, I'd like to introduce to you Veronica's sister-in-law, Sarah DeCiccio, whom will do the first scripture reading for us, Psalm 23, a Psalm of David.
I just wanted to say something funny that most people thought that Caroline was my mom as well, because most people don't know the difference between Veronica and I, so now you can see the difference. Even when I was handing out funeral announcements or the celebration of life announcements, everyone was thinking I was Veronica, and I was like, yes, Lorinda and Veronica are very excited. So it's great that one day I'll have my own identity. But I'm very honored to read this today. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Thank you, Sarah. Today we gather to honor, remember, celebrate, and say goodbye to Caroline. Change, a powerful word with so much meaning for us all. Life is full of change. Change is hard to accept, but we all work through it in our own way and are never the same again. These words are from Caroline. Caroline was a proud mother, a loving grandmother, a gifted teacher, a good friend, and an overall inspirational woman. Our lives have all been touched by Caroline. Sorry, does that sound a little better? Not as muffled? As you may not know the details of her earlier life, we'd like to share some of this with you. Caroline was born Caroline Lorraine Weber on January 5th, 1947 in southeast Saskatchewan, which is not far north of the city of Regina. She was the youngest of 3 children of John and Emma Weber. She grew up on a farm north of Southie in a stable, loving home and environment. Her life was filled with family, church, school, and friends. Young Caroline enjoyed softball, volleyball, track and field, playing cards with family, and socializing with people. After high school, Caroline studied for 2 years at each of the universities in Regina and Saskatoon, graduating with a Bachelor of Education, majoring in home economics. She described the experience as a whole new challenge for this country girl. Life was pretty wild and woolly during this time, but still fun. From the sounds of things, Caroline relished her many social experiences throughout these early adult years, even venturing to the Calgary Stampede with her close friend Diana. A few years ago, when looking at pictures of the 2 ladies all dolled up, Diana confided in Veronica with a giggle, "What happened at the Stampede stayed at Stampede." Caroline taught for 1 year in Dysart, Saskatchewan, and another half a year in Lanigan, Saskatchewan, before heading up to Lacrete, Alberta. She appreciated the North and all it had to offer, with 3 great years of teaching, friendships, and more life adventures. After her first year of teaching in Lacrete, she spent her summer on a tenting trip across Europe. This was her first significant experience with traveling, and she fell victim to the glorious travel bug. Lacrete was where she met and married her trailer neighbor, Chuck Brinton. The 2 of them left Lacrete together, taking a year to embark on an amazing world trip spanning Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Highlights of their voyage are marked on the maps and then some photos on the side wall. When they returned, Chuck and Caroline settled down to teaching jobs at Hugh Sutherland School in Carstairs, Alberta. It was there that they welcomed their first daughter, Lorinda, into the world. With young Lorinda in tow, Caroline briefly ran a fabric store called Yarn in town, and Veronica came onto the scene 18 months later. After years living in the town of Carstairs with 2 young babies underfoot, Chuck and Caroline decided to move to an acreage west of town. Caroline stayed home with both girls for 2 years and then returned to her home economics position at the Carstairs School. Her role later shifted to school librarian and finished with many impactful years teaching grade 6. Following more than 20 years at Hugh Sutherland due to health reasons, Caroline decided to take an early retirement in June 2000. Caroline's passion for sewing was evident as she made nearly all the girls fancy clothes and beautiful dresses well into elementary school. She brought in her country roots to make homemade and garden-grown food for the girls in their early years. She continued playing several sports, including her beloved slow pitch, curling, skating. She learned to golf and being involved in or coaching the girls' sports whenever possible. Life on the Anchorage was kept busy with yard work, gardening, teaching, raising the girls, playing crib, attending live performances, enjoying the mountain views, and hosting various teacher and friend celebrations. It was during this time that Carolyn felt alone in her breast and started down what turned out to be the long road of her breast cancer story. The girls were soon off to university, Lorinda in Calgary, Veronica in Edmonton. As always, Caroline showed interest in this new phase of their lives, encouraging and listening to them along the way. While Caroline was recovering from her second round of breast cancer and her divorce, she briefly moved back to the town of Carstairs, eventually settling into a beautiful new customized townhouse in Didsbury. 6 years attending to details created a home and a yard that embodied Caroline's personality. Those who were fortunate enough to see her colorful and well-planned yard would certainly agree. Never one to sit idle, and once again pulled in by her love of students and teaching, Caroline worked as an educational assistant at West Glen School in Didsbury. She formed close relationships with many colleagues, students, and family through her empathy, her care, and her dedication. Being close to Calgary also meant that many enjoyable weekend afternoons were spent with Lorinda in the city, window shopping, going for tea or dinner, and even helping Lorinda choose her first condo. They also enjoyed each other's company and cooking together in Caroline's home. These years in Didsbury were filled with unique experiences, as well as creating new friendships. It was time to focus on her own personal healing, on both a physical and an emotional level. This included hiking, meditation, listening to music, playing mindful musical instruments such as hand drumming, tingsha bells, and singing bowls, and practicing yoga. She inspired us all with her survivor approach to life, taking new courses and trying new things. Fly fishing to help restore some strength in her upper body. Alternative healing such as Reiki, orthobionomy, and health and healing touch, as well as the Rebuilders group and activities and the Tapestry retreat in Kings Gold in Alberta foothills. They were all instrumental in PR. Additionally, volunteering to support other breast cancer patients. This took many forms, including driving, a shoulder to cry on, sharing her experience and advice, a true testament to her desire to help and to give. When Ronica was pregnant with her first child in 2006, Carolyn once again shifted her life and decided to move up to Fox Creek in order to be closely involved with Ronica and her family. Caroline lived in a new condo for a few years, briefly dabbling in being a landlord for a second condo, before designing and falling in love with her brand new 4-life home, only 3 houses up from Ronica's. Caroline found herself gravitating to the Fox Creek School, as per usual, where she headed the successful literacy intervention program for years. At one point, she and Ronica co-taught a short-term music position, and when Ronica later accepted a temporary grade 1 position, Caroline was a fixture in that classroom as well. What a dynamic duo that was. Life as a grandma fit very naturally for Caroline. She not only continued to be a great mom, showing interest in both of her daughters' lives, but adored being a grandma. She was a constant in Ronica's life, present in a helpful and quiet way for all the significant events such as birthdays and Christmas concerts. She was also around for the daily bustle of things, including laundry, taekwondo schedules, temper tantrums, active play sessions with blocks, or quiet time with books. She embraced the true grandma spirit, picking out special bedding for the boys' rooms in their house and designing a basement set up for ball hockey. This included painted chipboard, special guarded lights, stocking up on their favorite snacks, and as always, having fresh baking on hand. The relationship was truly symbiotic, Caroline supporting life wherever needed with Ronica's family, and Ronica and Todd caring for and supporting Caroline, the boys lifting the spirits of everyone. Quilting, going for walks, being part of an active book club, playing computer games, constructing puzzles, and visiting with close friends were some of the activities Caroline enjoyed while living in Fox Creek. In more recent years, with increasing health requirements, Caroline moved to St. Albert so that she could be near regular medical care and assistance. She settled in quickly there, enjoying the friendship of Todd's grandma, Martha, and his great aunt, Audrey, but also making new friends. She reveled in being one of the youngest and the more tech-savvy members of the community, proud to be known as a smart and well-educated woman. Tile rummy, bingo, puzzles were frequently on the agenda, and she even volunteered on the food committee. She was delighted to show off her daughters and grandsons to the building residents and staff whenever possible. Shortly thereafter, Caroline and Veronica took a trip to Belgium to see Lorinda and her partner Kenny in their new life. That was a great chance for everyone to reconnect and for Caroline to see Lorinda and Kenny's worlds. Traveling was an important part of Caroline's life. She helped lead school trips to Ontario and the Soviet Union. She took a world trip with her family through Africa and Southeast Asia in 1991 and 1992. This trip is also marked on the map. Sometimes Caroline traveled with friends to Mexico, to other parts of Canada, and on cruises. Other times with Lorinda to Costa Rica and New Brunswick, and eventually with Veronica and her family on many cruises, Alaska, Caribbean, Central America, to Arizona and to Mexico. Overall, Caroline visited countless places throughout the world in her lifetime. Her handwritten list of some of the highlights is on the table of memories to view. Caroline's life cannot be spoken without mentioning her breast cancer story. It was likely her biggest challenge, and in the face of many ups and downs, she handled it with her head held high. Caroline's battle with cancer began in 1993 at the age of 45. She had reoccurrences in 1997, 2007, 2013, and 2017, totaling 5 times facing breast cancer in her life. She endured many surgeries, many treatments, included repeated radiation, chemotherapy, and long-term hormonal drug therapies, all of which came with lifelong side effects. Despite this, she had positive energy, an unbreakable spirit, fierce determination, and an inspirational attitude. Some words from Caroline. A long time ago, I decided that something good had to come from all of my experiences, something for other people diagnosed with cancer. I have been the main support advocate for a lot of people dealing with cancer for the first time. I have talked to them after they've been diagnosed. I have driven them and gone with them to their cancer appointments, taken notes for them, asked questions, explained things, held their hands, and encouraged them through their surgeries and their treatments. I have been with several in the last hours. I am well aware of what it's like to be terminally ill from cancer, and I realize just how fragile life is. Caroline learned to live life in the present, taking each day as it came. She gained enormous strength and wisdom through her experiences, always willing to share it with others who were facing breast cancer diagnosis. She became an advocate, an ambassador, a supporter, a friend for women fighting breast cancer. As a flag bearer for the Weekend to End Cancer in Edmonton, the top fundraiser for the Calgary Fun Run, co-organizer, co-host, guest speaker for the annual Fox Creek Pretty and Pink fundraiser, a member of the One Step at a Time walking team, and a participant in numerous other walks and events. She embodied the survivor spirit. We'll now play a short clip of Caroline proudly holding the flag at the Weekend to End Cancer.
Steps of this amazing journey, returning to the center of our circle was even more. Today, they bring things that mark our incredible accomplishment. These are the things that made a difference. Jerry brings life. Darlene brings hope. Caroline brings our efforts have here changed the course of these diseases. We have changed lives and rewritten people's futures. And finally, Michelle brings triumph. That beautiful day when we hear the words, "You are cancer free." Better still, when we hear those words exclaiming that we have arrived at our final destination. Cancer has finally been beaten, and we have won. We will win.
Okay, I apologize for that. There's a little bit of technical difficulty. Written by Caroline in 2007 after being diagnosed with breast cancer for the 5th time. Cancer is a double-edged sword that periodically attacks my body. It twists its blade more aggressively each time it enters. It causes damage. Cancer can hurt my physical being, but not my inner strength, my soul, and my spirit. I know mortality is inevitable, but please let me forever be the winner against the sword. Caroline passed away from heart complications in April 2020 and would be so proud of the fact that she didn't directly succumb to cancer or to the sword. Her positive impacts on the world live on through the many students she taught, the chain of breast cancer survivors she helped, and the fond memories of those who were fortunate enough to know her. Some closing words of wisdom from Caroline, as spoken at one of her many cancer fundraising speeches. And the last thing I know for sure is that every morning I wake up, open my eyes, and realize that I'm still here. So I better enjoy every moment of every day and count my blessings. Caroline often expressed gratitude for those who supported her in various times of her life. I now call upon Lorraine Rayway, who knew Caroline through the community and family, and to share Psalm 39, verses 1 to 18.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you to Caroline's family. It is an honor and a privilege to be here this afternoon to share with you some of Caroline's favorite gospels and Psalm 139. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is so wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me, your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkest will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, the darkness is as light to you. For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. How precious to me are your thoughts, God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand. When I awake, I am still with you, and I truly believe your spirit is here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. I now invite Ronica up, and Lorinda will follow Ronica, and they're going to share their stories, their adventures, and their life with their mom. It's not very often I get to do that. Before I get into my part of the speech, I also wanted to mention the flowers that we forgot to mention before. Again, if you were around Mom, you would know she never had any cut flowers around because her allergies were always too severe to have those. So if you notice around the hall, she quite enjoyed having flowers in her yard outside. So we decorated the hall with outside flowers, sort of in her honor. You will notice some gladiolas, and the story behind the gladiolas is that when we went to Saskatchewan, every event we were at had cut gladiolas. Her sister Annie and her mom Emma both grew them in her gardens. And so anytime we went to Saskatchewan for a family event or anything, there were always cut gladiolas around her. So we decided she could withdraw a few allergies to have her mom and her sister present with her today. That's the story behind the gladiolas. Well, Mom, much like many things in your life, your departure took a difficult route in all ways. I'm truly sorry for that because you deserved so much better. Do you remember sitting at your table? We were filling out your green card, pondering whether a person could actually die from their heart when they had a pacemaker. Turns out you can. And I'd have been okay waiting a bit longer, Mom, to have that question answered. I'm not sure you were able to appreciate what was going on in the world in your last moments. But you passed away at the start of what ended up being a historic global pandemic, where, ironically, I wasn't able to be with you in person until after you passed away. You weren't a fan, and neither was I. Imagine the two of us, joined at the hip for almost 14 years, not being together the last 6 weeks of your life. I have to tell you though, the timing was probably for the best. That silly pandemic continued for years, completely changing life and still going, hence why we're just having your service now. I bet you'd have chosen something nicer than a cardboard box if you knew you'd be hanging out in my living room for the last 2.5 years. Don't worry, I dressed you up and we've chatted daily. I know you would think it was a bit weird being in my living room, and at first, I did too. But now, I'm actually going to miss having you physically there, quietly in the background, but present in the epicenter of action for our family, just like you always were. Gosh, I just have so much to tell you, Mom. Considering we talked multiple times a day, we're so far behind. Let me summarize a few things quickly here. Carter is taller than me now, and still an extremely thoughtful soul. It must have been from all those snuggles you gave him, while making sure he did not get lost in the shuffle of our lives. Oh, and finally had his back surgery and rocked it with strength like you. Thanks for always being there for him. You were his safe place. Excuse me. I eventually applied for that administration position, which I think you always knew I would do. And I love it, Mom. I really do.
So you can stop rolling your eyes. Similar to most aspects of my life, I see you every day in my presence at school. I went back to university and got a master's degree. Yes, while I was working full-time. I know, I can hear your tone, but hear me out. Todd, Owen, and Carter were rock stars, Mom. They took over the house and errands, and well, pretty much the tasks that you were always so helpful with throughout the years. Of course, they couldn't compare with the attention to detail you put into everything, but they did it. Together, as an administrator and university student, I was so happy to show the boys that their mom could be successful at anything I set my mind to, much like I saw in you. Thanks for the constant source of inspiration and female strength. Todd and I zipped to Saskatchewan, COVID style, for Annie's burial. We were blessed to stay with Diana and Norm, who maximized our visiting with your family and shared insightful stories of your youth. I'm sorry you weren't able to be with any of them as much as you would have liked, but know this, they all loved you so much. Also, I'm sorry for the constant disorganization and clutter that you had to endure at my house. It really must have driven you nuts. Your impeccable organization and cleanliness were a constant force throughout my life. However, I don't think I fully appreciated the degree of it until I was packing up your place. You had so many containers organizing every cupboard and drawer, which I knew, but wow, to see them all in one pile was impressive. And later, going through your files, you were hardly functioning at the ends. Your hands were virtually unusable, and yet your ledger was right up to date. Don't be mad, but I didn't reconcile your last MasterCard bill for you. And I think it's safe to say I'm never going to total the amount that you owe me for groceries from the last year we were together. I aspire to reach your levels of organization. Mom, you know I have always recognized that I was a mini you. It's something I wasn't happy about early in life, but resigned myself to the fate regardless. Karma really is funny. All of those ridiculous things that drove me nuts about you as a child are the same things that my boys now point out about me. I've even got the, why do you have so many freckles on your arm question. Perspectives shift over time. It really didn't take long for me to see what a strong, resilient, resourceful, and caring woman you were. Every day, I am honored to share your phenomenal qualities. I hope to become even a fraction of the woman that you are. Mom, I love you. I miss you with a deep down ache, and I am eternally grateful for you. Thank you for everything that you did to support and nurture my life. Okay. Thank you, Veronica. That was beautiful. So, what I'd like to talk about today is gratitude. My dear sister spoke of it, and I feel so much gratitude to my mom. I feel gratitude for all of you being here as well, sharing in my mom's life. I think today is a memory of Thanksgiving, actually. And when I think of Thanksgiving, I think back to the many actual Thanksgivings we had, and one of the things I loved about our family was we would take time and each go around the table and say things that we were thankful for. And I think this is a beautiful thing to do in life. Some of you may know that I've recently completed training to be a mindfulness instructor. And so living mindfully and expressing and appreciating gratitude is something that's very important to me. And what does mindful living mean? Mindful living includes taking moments to appreciate things. to appreciate the people in your life, the moments you've had together, and that is what we're doing today. Mom did a lot of